MichaelRGordon, Cobra II, The Inside Story of the Invasion and Occupation of Iraq. Gear up for an insightful journey into the complexities of the Iraq War through the book Cobra II, The Inside Story of the Invasion and Occupation of Iraq by MichaelRGordon. This summary aims to provide you with a deeper understanding of the intricate decision-making and strategic moves that marked the Bush administration's pursuit to oust Saddam Hussein. Discover the internal battles, political maneuvering, and unanticipated challenges faced by key players like Donald Rumsfeld, General Tommy Franks, and Colin Powell. As you dive headfirst into this summary, prepare to uncover the fateful choices, diplomatic efforts, and intelligence failures that laid the foundation for one of the most contentious wars in modern history.
Rumsfeld's vision for war. In the aftermath of the 9/11 attacks, U.S. Secretary of Defense Donald Rumsfeld saw the opportunity to pursue his vision for a new approach to war. He advocated for a faster and more high-tech engagement with Iraq, with fewer troops, based on his belief in the post-Persian Gulf War mobile military. Along with President George W. Bush, Rumsfeld made Iraq their central target, ignoring advice from former President Bill Clinton to focus on al-Qaeda and Middle East diplomacy. Rumsfeld's tenacious insistence on oversight became a hindrance for the generals, leading to disagreements over troop numbers and strategic approaches. With a focus on the Iraqi oil fields and the prospect of defeating Saddam Hussein, the decision to go to war was made despite limited intelligence on Iraq's weapons program. The result was a default to meet violence with violence on the part of some U.S. forces and unpreparedness to deal with the complexities of Iraq. Saddam Hussein's delusions and fears. Despite ordering the use of sarin nerve gas on rebels in Karbala and Najaf, Saddam Hussein never expected the U.S. to attack him after September 11, as he still saw Iran and Shiites as his biggest enemies. His war plans did not involve destroying infrastructure or flooding marshlands, as he wished to have access to these areas in case of internal rebellion. Hussein was paranoid about U.S. electronic surveillance and may have been delusional, even issuing orders to his army based on a dream during the Iran-Iraq War. He never disclosed the fate of his stockpiles of weapons of mass destruction, fearing Iran's response. The book argues that there is a direct link between the way the Iraq War was planned and the subsequent insurgency faced by the American-led coalition. Powell's Reservations on Iraq War. The book highlights Colin Powell's concerns during the planning of the Iraq War and criticizes the war's execution. Powell, the Secretary of State, was skeptical about Iraq's post-war state and argued for more diplomacy and disarmament attempts. He also doubted General Tommy Franks' war plans since they lacked preparations for the aftermath and failed to locate and secure weapons of mass destruction, WMDs. Intelligence identified 946 potential WMD sites, but only 130 were investigated. The book reveals that Iraq had no WMDs at the time of the war, and Saddam Hussein's strategy was to defend Baghdad from multiple outer circles. Powell pointed out that Saddam Hussein held Iraq together and predicted that without him, the U.S. military would have to govern and rebuild Iraq for years. Despite Powell's warnings, the U.S. went to war, and the aftermath was catastrophic. The Iraq War intelligence failure. Despite a huge budget, the CIA had no intelligence on Saddam Hussein's WMD program, leading to a disorienting aftermath of war. The U.S. intelligence relied solely on UN inspectors' reports that left them unprepared for Iraq's nuclear and biological weapons programs. Poorly chosen evidence and unreliable sources contributed to keeping the confused focus on WMDs, while failing to see tons of weapons distributed in southern Iraq. The army was unprepared and inexperienced to handle civil order, utility and sanitation services, guerrillas, and most importantly, WMDs. The Iraq War, a tale of hubris and ignorance. In March 2003, the U.S. invaded Iraq, beginning with attacks on observation posts and a shock and awe bombardment. Hussein was the first target, but the airstrikes did not kill any of the 200 top Iraqi regime leaders. As the war progressed, unexpected discoveries were made, revealing a grossly neglected infrastructure. After Baghdad fell, Hussein and his sons abandoned their palaces and fled the capital. Ultimately, the Iraq War tells a story of hubris and ignorance, of high-technology wizardry and cultural blindness, as the U.S. sought to change the strategic equation in the Middle East and make Saddam an object lesson to other proliferators. Lessons in Nation Building. The fall of Baghdad, chaos, and the Bush administration's flawed nation-building strategy with Paul Bremer as its civilian administrator. Amidst chaos following the fall of Baghdad, the Bush administration appointed Paul Bremer as the civilian administrator, and he made several flawed decisions. He disregarded advice from Iraq experts and removed Zalmay Khalilzad, upsetting Powell. Bremer also removed Hussein loyalists and Ba'ath Party leaders, further destabilizing Iraq. A RAND study warned that a small peacekeeping force would lead to elevated civilian casualties and disorder. Despite this warning, the Bush administration limited troop numbers, leading to growing dissent. The Bush administration wanted to dictate the peace terms, leading to the cancellation of local elections and the abolition of the Iraqi military. Yet, many U.S. Army officers thought the Iraqi military was necessary to restore order. Bremer's decision led to significant unemployment, reaching 60%, which led to violent riots. The administration underestimated Iraqi resistance, failed to understand ethnic groups and tribes, and put too much faith in military technology. The U.S. military did not receive the necessary blend of resources to cope with guerrilla warfare. In the end, the U.S. administration failed to learn the lesson learned through the nation-building strategy used in Bosnia and other crises. As a result, it flunked on its charge to rebuild the nation of Iraq.
Having traversed the complex web of decisions and calculations that led to the invasion and occupation of Iraq, you are now equipped with a comprehensive understanding of the driving forces behind this war of choice. Throughout Cobra II, you have witnessed the power struggles between the likes of Rumsfeld, Franks, and Powell, the persistence of unverified belief in Iraq's possession of weapons of mass destruction, WMDs, and the administration's focus on high-tech warfare and troop deployment, often overlooking the lessons of nation-building and civilian administration. It is evident that key takeaways from this book summary include the dangers of ignoring sound advice, underestimating local resistance, and failing to adapt strategies based on ground realities, all of which played a significant role in shaping the outcome of this controversial and consequential war.